Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you have these great intentions? You were going to cook dinner and then read one of your favorite books as a reward for a long day at work. And then instead, you flipped on the television, maybe while you were prepping dinner, and you just couldn't turn it off. Your show rolled into the next, and pretty soon it is past your bedtime and you've watched a whole bunch of TV episodes. No progress on your book. If you can relate, first of all, this is a judgment-free zone. I'm not bashing TV at all, but if you can relate to that process, that slippery slope, maybe it's TV for you, or maybe it's some other habit that you wish you could replace or change to another habit, but you just keep falling back into the same routine, then this episode is for you. In this episode, I'm going to share a little bit about my personal struggle with a TV addiction. And it really was an addiction, and how I was able to overcome and replace that habit pretty pain-free, actually, which is the good news. How I was able to replace that habit using neuroscience and performance research so that now I hardly ever watch TV, which might seem kind of crazy. I know a lot of people think that's absurd. And I got the idea from this episode because so many people were asking how I managed to do it. But I can promise you, it is not a superhuman feat. If you wish you didn't spend so much time watching TV, this is for you. Or if you just want to be more conscious for how you're spending your time, this is for you too. And if you're new to the Present and Productive podcast, welcome. I'm your host, Leva Hendren, strategy consultant by day, musician turned behavior design coach as well. And my focus is on joyful productivity, because I believe when we're truly present, finding joy in our work, then we can start loving our dreams into life to find purposeful, life-giving productivity. Thank you so much for being here. My goal for today's podcast is that by the end of the episode, you'll have a step-by-step action plan to break your TV addiction or whatever habit you're struggling with. And if you are new or catching up on the podcast, you can watch this now live on Spotify, which is super cool. Thank you, Spotify, for having the live podcast. So why TV? Well, there was an incredible survey by US News that looked at Americans' habits between May and December of 2020, right? So this is during the pandemic, we're staying at home. Many Americans have more time available to them, many didn't. After sleeping, the #1 time consuming activity of Americans across the nation, May to December 2020, was watching television. Any guesses on how many hours per day? 3 hours, more than 3 hours a day, which is absolutely crazy. It's the #1 leisure activity in the United States, at least it was for 2020. And I promise this is a judgment-free zone. Like if you are all about watching your show and winding down with your show, I think that is great. But if you're wanting to create a habit where you're not watching TV for whatever reason, and you're struggling, you're grinding to change your TV habit, I just want to show a little bit of grace to you and give you some encouragement, because TV really is addictive. And that's what I want to talk about next. On this podcast, we talk a lot about the value of being in the flow state, especially the creative flow state, when you're really deeply engaged in work, you're flowing, you feel not your own sense of self so much because you're so absorbed in the work. It's a really high quality state of engagement for the brain. Your prefrontal cortex kind of quiets down and you're fully immersed in joyful productivity. Television actually gives you a type of flow state. So Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the leading researcher into flow, writes about this in his book, that television is a type of flow state. That's why it's like an addiction for your brain, except it doesn't have any meat. It mimics the flow state, but it's not challenging your brain. So there's no nutrition, as it were. If you think of a sugar addiction, just kind of engaging the brain, it feels really good. We experience that feeling while we're watching TV, of stepping out of our brains for a little bit, immersing ourselves in the story. But it turns out it doesn't actually relax people. So it gives us this fake feeling of relaxation. But after watching TV, we're less alert, and our mood doesn't improve. And in fact, a lot of people report feeling less in control of their life events, which is actually the opposite of creative flow. When your mood improves, you get this beautiful like chemical cocktail. When you're in a real creative flow activity, TV sort of quiets down some of the chatter in our mind, but it is one of the least restorative activities that we can do. And that's where it is kind of addictive. And in fact, research shows that heavy use of TV has been associated with a negative body outlook, especially among women, but also among men, problems with sleeping, and possibly problems contributing to ADHD, which is really intense. So if you find yourself wanting to break the TV habit and your brain has become addicted to this fake kind of flow state, the sugar of having this sense of being out of the prefrontal cortex, absorbed in something else, but not the value of challenge or creating your brain, making something new, then this episode is for you. I found myself in the middle of a massive TV addiction when I was right at the end of my college years and starting my first job. And I'll never forget it. I really realized it was an addiction. This one totally random Wednesday evening, I intended to leave work and then work on a little coding project that my boss had asked me to do. But when I sat down with dinner, I just felt so lonely and so tired, and my brain really needed to relax and refresh. So I turned on a little streaming video of Scandal. Oh my gosh, so much drama, just to relax for a little bit. And I actually even remember like trying to do the coding and feeling so burnt out that I had to restore my brain some way. Before I knew it, it was truly 3 in the morning. I had to get up in 3 hours so I could get to the office by 7 a.m. and, shower, full makeup, dry my hair. It was kind of devastating. And I realized it had become a pattern, slipping into that level of escaping my own life in an attempt to find restoration, but it was robbing me of my sleep, my creativity, my focus, my energy. It was really negative. So what did I do about it? Well, I turned to identity-based goals. And this is where, if you are looking to replace a negative habit with a positive habit, or if you're looking to break a TV habit, then I invite you to follow along. So I created my own intentional protocol about TV watching to make it really easy. And I just used the who, what, when, where, and the why. So my intentions for resetting my habit, I had to go really deep because this was a very ingrained habit. First, the who. For my TV habit, I decided I was only going to watch TV when I was with other people, and I felt it was a bonding activity. That was super hard, but that gave me a parameter to look towards. What was I going to do? So if I couldn't do TV, what else could I do? I made a huge list, actually, of all the other things I could do. It was really fun. I decided when I was feeling that way, what could I do? I could take my dinner out to the balcony. I could pull up a book or a podcast, which was kind of like TV, but not quite as addictive, a podcast. I could bring out some colored pens. I just made a whole list actually of wonderful things. And I also treated myself. Like I bought some beautiful chocolates and I bought some fun, exciting ingredients to make cooking more enjoyable. I bought a candle into my dinner table space. So I literally replaced where my TV used to be, my computer, I didn't own a TV, with a little candle, and it made the what more appealing. That's the key here. When you pick the what's the replacement habit gonna be? Needs to be more appealing, kind of a sexier habit, as James Clear shares in Atomic Habits. And then when. So when will I watch TVs? Well, I decided at that time I would watch TV on the weekends before 9 p.m. If I'm watching after 9 p.m., that is outside of my bands. So I decided to do that. Clear when, and then where would I watch TV? Sometimes I had this horrible habit of bringing my computer with me and streaming it in bed, in my bedroom. No, never again. So I decided not to do that, and also not at the kitchen table. I would only watch TV again with other people, so on a couch or in some kind of a social setting. And that was really fun because sometimes I decided, you know what, I want to watch TV, I'm going to invite some friends over and we're going to have a great time. And then it took on a whole new life of its own in bringing me more community, more of that connection that I craved. And then why? This is a really fun one. Why is where we bring in the identity-based goals. We shift our identity away from the negative habit and towards the positive habit that's more clearly aligned with our intentions, right? So my why was that I was the kind of person who didn't need to watch TV, who never watched TV to escape my own life. Once I realized why I was addicted to TV in the first place, to escape my own life and my own unhappiness and frustration, and it was painful to articulate that, then I could decide that new identity I wanted. I did not want to be the person who watched TV to escape my own life. So that's the why. So as a recap, really diving deep into a habit that you would like to replace, or a habit that's become a slippery slope. Maybe it's drinking one too many glass of wine. I know that's an easy slippery slope. Or reaching for a chocolate every single day after lunch. That has been a slippery slope for me. It can be really helpful to break down that habit, really dig into where the desired habit is coming from, and then create your clear intentions to replace that habit and be really intentional about it. So you're going from unintentionally watching TV in this case to really intentionally making TV a fun, special, bonding activity. And just to recap, those questions again are who are you doing the activity with, or maybe it's solo. What are you replacing the activity with? When are you doing the activity or the habit? Where are you doing it? And then why are you changing or replacing it? What is that identity-based statement that is getting you into closer alignment between who you want to be, how you want to be living your life, and then how your actions are reflecting that. So I hope that this has really inspired you to think creatively if there's a habit that's become a grinding point or a sticking point. And I would love to know, send me a comment or let me know what kind of replacement habits you are looking to do or you have done in the past that has worked for you. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me on the podcast. Please leave a review and comment. It means so much. I'm so grateful to have this community of support of other people who are bringing joy and creativity into the workplace, into our homes, into our communities. It's never been needed more than now. So thank you for all that you do, and have a fantastic rest of the day.